Hey, Pam Calvert here, and welcome to PBU's Viewer Topics. Today's topic is writing dialogue. Even though we don't have a lot of words in picture books, writing dialogue can go a long way in showing who your main character is. And when you do it well, it might even sell your book. So let's get to it. All right, number one tip for writing dialogue is you need to sound like a kid. Your character shouldn't sound like an 85-year-old, and they definitely shouldn't sound like a baby. They have to sound like a genuine child. The young ones in picture books are the 4 to 7-year-old set, and those are the kids that you're marketing to. So you need to have your main character sound, if they're children, sound like a child. Now, I want you to listen to how they speak. Do they use long, intricate sentences? Or do they use short sentences? You'll get the feel for it once you really start listening to them. One of my favorite books is Lily's Purple Plastic Purse, and if you haven't seen any of my other videos, I'll go to this book a lot when I'm talking about craft because I believe this is one of my very favorite books that will show you what a good picture book is all about. The only problem with this book is it's too long. We don't want to look at it for that. But other things that I will be talking about, we will go to this time and again. So in the beginning of this book, Lily just loves her teacher. And when she thought about him, this is what she said. "Wow," said Lily. That was just about all she could say. Wow. Now, wow is a great word. It's what kids use. I don't know if we say things like that. I mean, we do, but I think kids say it more. And it's just a perfect thing to show her character being in awe of another character. Now, he also does something really cool with this dialogue is he uses it for emphasis on the amazement of her reaction with her teacher, but then on the following page, he uses it again, and that's called repetition. So her father is using the same sort of exclamation here, and what happens is Lily now wants to be a teacher because she loves her teacher so much. And so her mother says, "What's with Lily?" asked her mother. "I thought she wanted to be a surgeon or an ambulance driver or a diva," said her father. "It must be because of her new teacher, Mr. Slinger," said her mother. "Wow," said her father. That was just about all he could say. Wow. So that last line was exactly like what Lily had said earlier. So he's using that for emphasis. And it's showing that the father now is wowed because Lily is different now, isn't she? Something has influenced her. And not only that, we get a sense for, hi, well, this is my dog. Say cheese. And her name is Dolly. Anyway, we get a sense of who Lily is. She is a character who is very vivacious because he even said that she wanted to be a diva. So you know she is this spunky character, and we get to find out who she is through what the characters are saying about her. So that's another way to develop character. And we are going to be talking about character development on Monday, so I don't want you to miss that. So make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you'll be alerted when I upload that video. Number 2, use dialogue tags well. And what I mean by that is you need to consider, should you use dialogue tags or just use action? I like to split it up between action and dialogue tags. I do probably around 70% dialogue tags and then the rest action. Because you want to split it up because it gets a little monotonous and boring if you're constantly saying she said, he said, she said, he said. But you should also use other dialogue tags to keep it fresh. Definitely don't want to overuse different dialogue tags because that can take the focus off your story and onto the tags themselves. Okay, and the third tip is to use dialogue to show character development or to use humor. Now, what makes your character unique? What sets them apart from every other character out there? The biggest problem I see in the manuscripts that come into me is that every character sounds the same. And in dialogue, That's a great way to set your character apart. In Princess Peepers, I set her apart in the way she speaks. When she gets flustered, she'll say, "Holy pumpkins," or she'll go, "Oh, fairy dust," or "Oh, magic mirrors." So she is always doing this princessy type of jargon, and it works. And the kids laugh whenever she says things like that. The fourth tip is to use contractions. Do we speak without contractions? Do kids speak without contractions? Do we say, "Johnny, I am going to the park now"? No, we say, "Johnny, I'm going to the park right now." Also, using contractions helps shore up your word count. So you can get rid of, instead of having 2 words for "I am," you'll have 1 word for "I'm." And that's how we talk anyway. You should always have contractions. All right, the 5th tip is always be natural. So your kids and your characters should be natural sounding. And there's nothing worse than melodramatic, unnatural dialogue. And the way to figure that out is to read it out loud yourself. And if you stumble over the words, or if you think that that character wouldn't say that, then you shouldn't write it that way. They need to sound like, when they're having a conversation. But the words have to be meaningful. You can't just have a conversation that doesn't have anything to do with the plot. We don't have that much time in picture books, and you shouldn't do that anyway. Everything that's in a picture book needs to be there for the plot. You need to know your characters well enough to know if they would say something, if that would be natural for them to say. A lot of people's manuscripts that come into me, they don't know their characters very well, and they fall flat. These characters sound exactly the same, so they aren't unique, and the person that's writing it obviously hasn't thought through character development before they started writing the book. All right, the 6th tip is, if it's not necessary, cut it. And that is true for any part of your book. If that dialogue is unnecessary, if has nothing to do with your plot, it's not moving the plot forward, and you're just chatting. I've seen that in picture books, in the manuscripts that come to me over and over again. They just are chatting, and that's an unfocused story. You need to cut it. It shouldn't even be in there. 7th tip is use pauses or breaks in speech. When we talk naturally, we kind of pause, don't we? Yeah, I try not to pause here, but for brevity's sake. But yes, we pause in speech, and sometimes you need that for emphasis. And I'm going to show you in Princess Peepers how I use a pause in speech to show emphasis. Okay, on this one, I have the lady in waiting, and as you can see, she is aghast, but I don't tell you that she's aghast. That is bad writing. We do not tell, we show, right? So I write here, when a lady in waiting came in to check on the princess, Peepers asked, "How do I look?" You look, remarkable," the lady in waiting said. So you see how she's stammering here because she doesn't want to hurt the princess's feelings. She doesn't want to get in trouble for being mean to the princess. Reason why she's stammering at the princess is because she looks like this. Yes, she has a boot on her head and she can't see anything, so she looks awful here. And so the lady in waiting is kind of thinking of something quick to tell the princess so that she doesn't hurt her feelings. And you should use that sometimes because that is natural. That's what people do. And it also kind of sets up what's going on here. And it's kind of funny too because the lady in waiting she's actually not really being truthful, but she is being truthful. All right, the next tip is get your dialogue critiqued. And that means you should have your critique group, somebody read your work out loud. So if they read it out loud and they're stumbling over it and it doesn't sound right, then it needs to be changed. You should be reading your work out loud too to make sure that it sounds normal. So a lot of times when I'll be done with something, because something in your head really sounds great, but then when I start reading it out loud, I'll see all the problems and then I'll have to revise and I'll write little notes to myself on the paper. It's good to print out your manuscript because what you see on the screen, I don't know what it is about the brain, but it doesn't see as many errors as when you print it out on the page. Okay, now I want to read out some viewers' comments that talk about dialogue as kind of an added bonus. I loved what they had to say. This one is from Ashley Congdon. I just wanted to share something that goes on with what you were saying about dialogue tags. I'm currently catching up on a revision webinar, and the presenter said, dialogue tags for all dialogue, unless there's a really good reason. And I agree with that. I believe that you should also mix it up with action. If you noticed what I showed you with Princess Peepers, I didn't always have a dialogue tag because I wanted to break it up with action. If you have good action, that can show you what the dialogue is. Also, if you have fast-paced interaction between two characters, you might not need a tag, especially if it's snappy and good. They could go dun, 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 dun. It could be like that. I wouldn't advise it though, unless you really know what you're doing, because it can be just like talking heads. I talk about talking heads in the 6 mistakes that newbie writers make, and I'll put that up here for you guys. Now, the next one about dialogue tags is from Julie Beck. For queries, I think the one thing I would add is to check the submission guidelines for every agent. Yes, for sure. And then she goes on down here about dialogue tags. I definitely see a trend of books being published with just dialogue only. One of my favorite books is Night Animals by Gianna Marino, and it's all dialogue. And then another one is Mo Willems' Elephant and Piggy. It's also all dialogue. Thing to note here, this is a biggie, is both are author illustrators. I wonder if this is the key difference. Okay. So, and thank you for your wonderful comments and for your support of my channel, Julie. I really appreciate it. Okay, so that is the key difference. You know, if you are a newbie writer, you don't illustrate, what are you supposed to wow the editor with? There has only been one picture book manuscript that's been sent to me that it was dialogue only. It was so hilarious. It had an arc, and I got it, and I could see it. It wasn't just one big joke. But it was so well done. It was submitted as for a picture book contest, and for me, I would have given it an honorable mention because I believed it should have been a picture book. It was so cute. But those are rare. And also, not everybody has a visual brain. I have noticed in all of my years of publishing, editors need to see it somehow. And if it's all talking, they can't see it. It's very difficult, even with illustration notes, trying to help out. And you are supposed to put your best foot forward, and you have to hop out of that slush pile because you're competing against all of their authors. They were ready to publish them over you. Yes, they want to find new authors, but how are you going to wow them? All you have is dialogue. You're not, unless you have beautiful pictures that go along with it and that can tell the story. If you are just doing all illustration notes with dialogue as your first picture book, it's going to be a hard sell. It just is. You need to be a well-groomed writer and show them all those elements that we have talked about in your story to propel you out of a slush pile. And then this is the reader's question, and it's a really good one, and I know you're going to want to listen to this. It says, "Hey Pam," this is from Darla Christie. "Hey Pam, great info as always. Have a quick question about the query letter, and if you haven't seen how to write a query letter video, then just pop up here and you can go and watch that." Okay, so she says, "Do you always send a query letter first without the manuscript? Seems like many agents publishers ask you to attach the picture book manuscript with the query. When would you send just the query? Would it change your letter if you're attaching the manuscript?" Okay, so I always look at the agent guidelines. So always look at submission guidelines. They will tell you. Sometimes there are submission forms and they just want you to copy and paste the text of your picture book right in the form. Sometimes they want it attached, but most agents don't want attachments because people can send in viruses from attachments. So I always query first, and unless the guidelines say attach, or the guidelines say just copy and paste it into the text of the email. And if it copies and pastes in the text of the email, it's going to ruin your formatting. But that's okay because the agent asked you to do that. So they're going to know that they're not going to get the best formatted picture book, right? If you've got a question about anything and on a topic, or if you have another question about the dialogue, or if you want me to go over something in this viewer's choice topic on Fridays, well, all you have to do is just comment down below, and you never know, I might be answering one of your questions, or I might be highlighting a topic that you are desperately wanting me to go over. Also, do you have a favorite picture book that goes over dialogue really well? Just comment down below and let us know so we can study those picture books too. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button down below. It's the only way YouTube will see this channel. This is a free picture book workshop from a published picture book author, and honestly, there's not many of us out there that are on YouTube, so please hit that subscribe button for me. Make sure to come back on Monday because we are going to go over character. We're going to find out how to write a character that kids will love. All right, I'll see you on Monday. Bye.